Idle hands are the devil's playground, or the devil's workshop. Do the devil's work. However, you know the expression. That's what kind of inspires the plot of Idle Hands, a 1999 horror comedy in which a young man's right hand is possessed by an evil force and causes him to do terrible things and run amok and all that kind of stuff. It's a good movie for Halloween season, definitely, because it does in fact take place during a lead up to Halloween. In fact, the big climax of the film, it takes place at this big Halloween dance. So it's very very heavy in October Halloween atmosphere kind of stuff. And to its credit, it has some good horror elements to it. There's some good gore, good kills, and stuff like that. But it's first and foremost, I guess, it is a comedy. So if that's your kind of brand, if that's something you like, then it absolutely delivers in that respect. It's a very 90s movie. So if you are kind of nostalgic for the 90s, this is kind of like the perfect movie. Like this is just so fucking 90s. It oozes 90s from the fashion, the attitudes, the music, and all that. I mean, it couldn't be more 90s if they filmed it today and set in the 90s and purposely made all these cultural references to the time. But this is from 1999. It's starring Devon Sawa playing Anton Tobias. He's kind of this uh, stoner loser kind of kid who spends most of his time in the basement smoking dope, watching music videos, not really doing much with life and all that. And then all of a sudden, these murders start happening in the town. And it's a big mystery until finally he does find out through the help of his friends, his two other stoner buddies, played by Seth Green and Eldon Henson, that somehow it's his hand doing this stuff. So it's a silly kind of premise, and I mean, definitely what you could probably accuse the film of is having, at least in some part, this inspiration from Evil Dead 2, of course, where Bruce Campbell, his hand becomes possessed, and he has to cut it off, which also the Devon Sawa character does, and it runs amok and all that. So there's some inspiration there. Also, some inspiration from American Werewolf in London a little bit, where the friends are killed as well, which is not so much of a spoiler. It kind of happens a bit early on in the film. Uh, they come back as zombies, not as apparitions as the Griffin Dunn character does in Werewolf in London, but just kind of like, I don't know, zombies, and they still hang around with him and interact and all that kind of stuff. So it's very strange and funny, and I think it does have a good sense of humor. Like, I mean, at the end of it all, if you can kind of judge the humor in a certain way, you'd kind of look at it and say, well, would I like to see this character, these characters, under different circumstances? Like, let's say this wasn't a horror film and it was something, like, you know, stoner buddy comedy, I don't know, dude, where's my car kind of thing. And it would play out kind of well, I think, because it is, a very funny character based kind of comedy where a lot of the humor comes from kind of the stupidity of the characters and the funny things that they say and all that. So they're good characters first and foremost. We like them and we find humor in them, and it's a simple enough concept, but it's kind of heightened a little bit by the introduction of a character played by Vivica A. Fox, where she's part of this whole order who knows about all these occurrences that have happened throughout either the world or just the United States, where these possessions are happening, and people's hands are being possessed and causing them to do terrible things. And kind of the reasoning behind that is that this evil force finds the most lazy, slovenly, do nothing, go nowhere piece of shit that they can find. So of course it finds the Anton character, and takes his hand as the possessee. So there's all that, and there's plot elements about uh, him having the crush on the girl across the street. In this case, it's played by Jessica Alba, and probably one of her first film roles, at least. So it's kind of a big role for her at the time, and trying to keep this horrible secret and this whole situation comedy going on, and it's done really well. It is a really funny movie, but to accent all of that, it does have really good effects, and not just like with the gore and with the kills, which are really you know both funny and shocking and well done, in a special effects sense, but also with the friends who, we have one whose head is cut completely off and he's kind of carrying it around, and then kind of uh, sticks it back on and it's kind of loose, and there's this whole kind of like gross out moment where he's trying to eat a burrito and all that, and the other friend, he has a bottle impaled into his forehead, and it's a good effect, and it all kind of amounts to the hand being cut off and trying to track it down, getting the help from the Vivica A. Fox character, and going to the dance, listening to The Offspring because it's the 90s, and finding a way to get rid of this evil. So it's well done. I have to say the movie has a lot of laughs, a lot of good horror elements, and it's definitely good for this time of year when you're doing horror movie marathons. Uh, Definitely like maybe like early on lighter fare kind of stuff where it's not quite chilling to the bone kind of horror. It's a fun horror themed kind of deal, and I think despite some of the more obvious influences, it makes the concept its own. Um, it's original enough in the way it plays with these ideas and the way it presents its characters that it does feel original enough. And I think Devon Sawa, he does a very good job as the main character. He's very funny, good comedic timing, a lot of goofy expressions, exaggerated, flailing movements and all that. He's almost like a cartoon character come to life. So I thought he did a great job, and a great job by the supporting cast. There's also a brief appearance by Fred Willard playing Anton's father in an opening scene of the film. He's always great. We lost him recently. Unfortunately, he passed away this year. Fred Willard, we love you. A hilarious actor, skilled beyond any way to describe it. Just an enormous loss. So it's great to see him in this film. I love Fred Willard, and he will be dearly missed. And it's an entertaining movie altogether. So I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, and you do happen to be kind of a fan of like more comedic stuff like Evil Dead 2, I guess, or like American Werewolf in London, I guess, then this is a really good movie. Kind of mixes those ideas together to create something new and very 90s. So I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. It's really funny, really entertaining, a classic in its own right, and I enjoy revisiting it every now and then. So that's my review, Idle Hands. Thanks very much for watching. It's 31 Days of Horror, doing horror movie reviews all throughout this October. Be sure to stay tuned for more. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay scared, and until next time, I'll see you later.